Hello nerds! Thank you for watching Generally Nerdy. This is your Week in Nerdom Gaming Edition for the week of February 26th, 2018. This week in gaming, man, I have a retraction on what I said about Metal Gear Survive and updates on some really interesting stuff and some interesting new hardware. So much is going on in gaming. Let's jump into the intro.
Quiet on the set. Rolling.
Hi, I am Bitsy Telek.
Hey, I'm Hale Appleman.
I'm Walter Kane.
I'm Rene Aubergenois. Odo on Deep Space Nine.
Michael Dorn, Lieutenant Commander Worf, Star Trek The Next Generation.
Come and see me and hear me and talk to me and listen to me talk about myself.
Hey man, this is Kevin Smith, often considered generally nerdy, and you are listening to what is often considered generally nerdy.
On Generally Nerdy.
You're listening to
Generally Nerdy.
Generally Nerdy.
Generally nerdy.
First things first, let's get into the sponsor for this week's episode. This week's episode is sponsored by the Hellfire shirt over on teespring.com/stores/generallynerdy. It's the shirt that literally says, winter may come and go, but Hellfire is forever. Again, that shirt is available at the Teespring store on teespring.com/store/generallynerdy. You see the little bar right here right now that tells you where to get that. That is only available on the Teespring store, so go get yours now, and let's jump into the news. Alright, so we're talking Tera. Tera is an MMORPG that right now is only available on PC. It is being developed by Blue Hole Incorporated for Xbox and PS4. So Xbox One and PS4. Sorry. The producers of the primary game right now are NMass Entertainment, and they worked out a deal with Blue Hole to port their game over. I could not find whether or not it was going to be cross-platform, so that you could play, if you're on an Xbox, you can play against PS4, or likewise for PC. No, I haven't figured that out. I doubt it, because not a lot of games do that, though I feel like more and more are doing that, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. Though, for those of you who have never played and don't know what this property is, this looks like what I wanted World of Warcraft to be. This game, you get up to a boss battle and you actually have to battle the boss. You're not selecting your actions from a list and then watching them happen on the screen. You are battling the boss, and it's a difficult platform style, in that you have to learn the boss's pattern and then work around the pattern and be better than the pattern. So yeah, super excited for this. I don't usually get excited for MMOs. They just don't really pique my interest anymore, since Enter the Matrix isn't a thing anymore, and either is City of Villains, sadly. Those are the two that I played. But the other cool thing is that this is kind of the first time an actual MMORPG has made it console side, so it'll be interesting to see how they adapt that. Next, we're getting into... I'll do the retraction first. So, I read a couple of different sources. I'm not going to say it was just one source, because it was at least two sources for last week's video that informed me that fans were taking well to Metal Gear Survive. It looks like that was fluff. That was the studio paying some reviewers. It would seem. I've since witnessed a lot more fan backlash against the game, because there's no Snake. There is absolutely no stealth involved. Basically, you're killing zombies, and they are actual zombies. You're just killing zombies with a big metal stick. There's no finesse. There is an actual announcement for the game, though. They're launching a new mission for the game in March. It's a rescue mission, so you get to save survivors from zombies, because everyone loves those missions in action-adventure games. It seems like Konami is really just trying to ride a property that they don't understand, and they got rid of the one guy on their team who does. Yeah, so that just kind of makes me sad all over, because Metal Gear is one of my favorite franchises. That's where I'm going to leave that one, and we're probably never going to talk about Metal Gear Survive again unless they severely overhaul and give the campaign something better. So we're leaving Metal Gear Survive behind, and we're kicking over to the last bit of news this week. It has to do with hardware. So we've talked in the past, we've talked about the Retron, and I am waiting for a Retron 6 because that's supposed to be the hardware that allows you to play the Nintendo 64. Now it looks like there is a new, better version of the Super Nintendo adaptation, I guess you could call it, because this isn't... Alright, so the Retron is an emulator. It's an emulator in a box, but it's still an emulator, and it's better than most because you play the actual hardware on the Retron. But inside that hardware is software that emulates a Super Nintendo or a Famicom or a Genesis, whatever. So it is probably the best physical emulator available. This new thing is from a company called Analog, and it is the console is the Super NT. So the difference between this and the Retron is the Super NT is effectively a better version of your Super Nintendo or Super Famicom if you're, not in the States. So what do I mean by that? The emulator, there's a touch of lag. I've played a Retron and it's relatively unnoticeable, but I've only played the Retron very limitedly. I'm sure if I tried to play Mortal Kombat extensively in a Retron, I would notice the lag more. I haven't done that yet, so I can't speak to that, but the Super NT has no lag because it's hardware that is similar to a Super Nintendo, but you can customize, like it fully, instead of upscaling, it produces the lines, it reproduces the lines of on your screen of resolution. It's very, very complicated situation. Needless to say, it's the best thing short of finding an adapter to adapt your original Super Nintendo from back in the day. That's probably a little yellow by now. That's the best way to play your Super Nintendo games if you still have those carts, or if you're looking to get into it. It's a revival in the gaming community. Retro gaming is where it is at. For a lot of people, and hence why Retron even has a market and why the Super NT has a market. So the other really cool thing about the Super NT is it has a memory card slot, so it does act like an emulator as well. You can load those ROMs onto an SD card, slide it into the back, and play those ROMs better than you can play them on your computer, because again, the hardware mimics a Super Nintendo. So yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's a little expensive considering it only plays Super Nintendo and Super Famicom games, aside from the ROMs that you can load on the side, because you can effectively run anything 16-bit, so Genesis, Master Drive, that kind of stuff. I believe you can run any of those on the ROM emulator. But hardware-wise, it only plays Super Nintendo carts, and it's like $200, $180, I think, American, 200, somewhere in that neighborhood, just for the console, and then it's another $50 for their suggested controller. It does take a classic Super Nintendo controller that's the same connection, but their suggested controller is a Bluetooth controller that apparently plays very, very well, with zero lag as well, and it really looks awesome. So a lot of the new companies that are making those older controllers make them super cheap and very plastic. All the reports I've read on the Super NT controller, wireless controller, say that it is not any of those things. It's not cheap, it's not plastic, it is as good, if not better, than the original Super Nintendo controllers. So Very awesome. I really want to get my hands... first, I'm going to get the Retraction, just because I have the Nintendo 64 stuff, and I have the Super Nintendo and the original Nintendo, and those carts still. I just don't have hardware for them. I'll get a Retraction first, and then I'm going to work my way up to an analog, because the Super NT sounds awesome. But that is where we're going to end this week's episode, guys. What did I miss? What should we talk about next week? Let me know in the comments down below. If you want to go deeper, though, into the conversation, then go over to the website, generallynerdy.net. That's where you can find all the freebies. That's where you can find the links to the social media and the links to the stores, where you can get the Hellfire shirt that's sponsoring today's episode. You can get all the other shirts as well. GenerallyNerdy.net is the only place to do that, or you can jump over to the Patreon, patreon.com/generallynerdy, jump on for just $1 a month, and you can get early access to all the videos and so much more if you want to chip in a couple more bucks. But if you are new to the channel, click the subscribe button, ring that bell so you get the alert when I post new videos. If you like the episode, click the like button. If you're falling behind on your nerd news and you want to catch up, click or tap that box right there to the left of my face to do that. But before you go, please, guys, please, always, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.